It's a Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. If you or a loved one has suffered a tragic crash, get the firm with the most certified in trucking accident law attorneys, nationally renowned and located in Wyoming, Colorado, and Montana. Call Grant Lawson and the law firm for truck safety. Well, the Pacific is finally open for business after being closed for quite a while. We're going to see an extended period of low pressure along the West Coast and adjacent to the West Coast for many days ahead. First, the first system coming in is going to be a stretched out area of low pressure that will extend off the coast of California, through the Great Basin, and into part of the Rockies. Pretty deep moisture is going to come in with this system. So we're going to finally get some moisture in areas that haven't seen it in quite a while. Along and west of the divide, this is going to be a recurring theme. I touched on this yesterday, but the way this system and the way the weather pattern is changing, it's going to be the West Coast and just areas adjacent that are going to see the heaviest precipitation opportunities for the next week to 10 days, mainly along and west of the Continental Divide, as that upper level low settles in. As I mentioned yesterday, this reminds me similar to what happened for part of December when we saw huge amounts of precipitation in California, especially in the Sierras. Some of that extended into the Rockies, but the core of the deepest moisture stayed along the West Coast. We're going to see that likely again, but there will be waves, small systems ejecting out of the main trough about every other day, and those will head eastward and will produce some weather. With the West Coast trough settling in, modified Pacific air will be pushed out ahead of it. So yeah, it'll be cooler, but not cold, as we don't have a Canadian connection because of the placement of where the trough is going to be. Now, a little bit hard to see here, but Roger sent some layered clouds here. We had a lot of lenticular clouds in the lee of the mountains, as you saw yesterday, and kind of in a stacked different layer formation there. And you'll get that as the moisture increases from the Pacific. And yeah, hey, we have clouds now. Pacific moisture streaking out ahead of the trough that came through yesterday. And the photo I showed you on the opening frame, KH wave clouds in the formation yesterday, and a little bit of, yeah, that's actually snow falling in Missoula County, Montana yesterday as rain and snow pushed out ahead of that first wave. And then you get east of the mountains, all we could muster were some mean-looking clouds that couldn't muster any precipitation. And speaking of precipitation, the lack thereof, you would think this was a shot from Seminole Reservoir in October, maybe, or November, not February. When we take a look at the satellite imagery this morning, you can see the swirl of clouds off the California coast. And look at this pipeline of moisture. Just a great feed of subtropical moisture coming out ahead of this into California. Then you can see the clouds getting a little bit further east into Utah. This is going to just spin around. We've got kind of a double-barreled area of low pressure right here. So it doesn't have a way to get pushed in, just kind of stretched out and elongated. But you can really see on the water vapor, we're getting good fetches of Pacific moisture now. This is what I meant about the Pacific is open for business. So we're going to have a pipeline of moisture and energy funneling into the West Coast beginning today and just continuing deep into next week. And yes, it is finally producing some snow. If you don't know it, the Grand Targhee Ski Resort in far northwestern Wyoming has what they call as the Grand Targhee Resort Stick of Truth, which is this really cool illuminated snow gauge that you can see at night. Then they have little figurines, these are dinosaurs, that tell you how many inches of snow have fallen, and they put this on a live YouTube stream. So finally, good to see some of that Pacific moisture stretching further east. So there's your double-barreled upper level low pattern. It gets stretched out. Again, you see it just can't come inland, but it does throw moisture eastward and northeastward through Thursday. So through Thursday and into Friday, this is through Friday afternoon, you can see California is going to fare well. We finally have moisture moving into Utah. The mountains of Colorado, far southern and western Wyoming will be picking up more moisture as well. But you can see it's just hard to get anything east of the I-25 corridor. And that's going to continue to be the recurring theme into early next week. That's what snowfall through Friday looks like as well. Then as we go out into the weekend, that wave does finally get a kick. It's going to go across Arizona, New Mexico. It is going to pick up moisture out ahead of it. So there's going to be some good rains and a little bit of snow on the northwest side of the system across the southern plains. And then that's going to head out into the southeastern United States by later in the weekend. Then the next low comes in. So what you're going to see is a reloading of this trough. This high sits here, but it needs to be more east to get this to where we want it to be, where many of you want it to be, in the Four Corners area. It's not going to reside there. It's going to be more out here because of the shape and the placement of the high pressure system. So as we go into the weekend, this wave goes through the southern Rockies and southern plains. It is going to clip some areas down here with some moisture. As you'll see here, this is the precipitation that falls from late Friday through Monday morning. There could be more moisture up here, up to I-70 than the model is showing. I wouldn't be surprised. We'll just watch that. But certainly parts of New Mexico, into Texas and Oklahoma, you're going to get wet. And again, Kansas, you might have a chance to get a little bit of that moisture. Then the onshore flow just feeds a very moist weather pattern into California with really no break. Then as we get into next week, this is Monday. That southern plains low is all the way to the mid-Atlantic. And here we go. We've got a reloading of this low coming into the trough. Here's another wave that's going to come up over the ridge and down along the west coast. For those of you that want front range and eastern areas of Colorado and eastern areas of Wyoming, western Nebraska, to get in the precipitation, you've got to get this whole troughiness moved about 300 miles to the east, or a little bit more than that. So this is just going to reload and just continue to focus all of its energy on the west coast. But you will have, I mentioned, you'll have waves breaking off. So there's a wave breaking off and heading northeastward through the central Rockies and into the plains around Tuesday of next week. So that is going to produce a little bit of weather along the divide, and it could end up intensifying into a little bit of a stronger system in the northern plains. Seen this pattern before. You'll get the semi-permanent trough of low pressure here, but waves break off the main low. So you get little systems that come out across it. And we're going to see that again. So this is Tuesday. 2 days later, here's another wave ejecting. That's going to head northeast. And by Thursday and Friday, this could be a system that then goes up across the high plains into the northern plains again. But you can see the high pressure ridge is kind of semi-permanent. So is the trough along the west coast. So you're going to get a lot of precipitation in California. Very impressive rainfall totals over the next 10 days. This is through the next 10 days. That is 17 inches of rain. Now, is that going to happen? We'll see. But you can see the potential is certainly there. And big snows are going to go into the Sierra. Heavy rains all the way down into San Diego, the LA basin, and then getting into Nevada, getting into the northern Arizona, southwest Utah areas. This is just a tremendous feat of moisture. These are snowfall totals over the next 10 days for the Sierra Nevada, and then further eastward, pretty impressive. Very impressive snowfall amounts, as we mentioned yesterday. This is going to be a really big snowpack boost over the next 10 to 14 days along and west of the Continental Divide is where you're going to have the big benefits. You can see we don't have anything here. Now, if one of these lows ejects out of California, you could end up getting something here that the maps aren't showing or the models aren't seeing at the moment. But that's how it's going to go. It's all about the west coast and areas west of the divide over the next 7 to 10 days. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.